I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, my health to better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world. Alrighty. So I just would like to welcome you guys to the Indiana 4-H virtual officer training. I'm Paige Jacobs. I am the co-service director, and I'm so glad that you guys could join us today. 4-H is a community for all kids with programs that suit a variety of backgrounds, interests, budgets, and schedules. From in-school to after-school, clubs to camps, 4-H's positive youth development programs are available in your local community and welcome children who want to have fun, learn, and grow. In Indiana, 4-H is brought to you by the Purdue Extension. So I would just like to allow my fellow officers to introduce themselves so that you guys know who all is instructing you tonight.
Hi guys, I'm Emma Bailey. I'm the other co-service director, so thank you guys so much for joining tonight, and I'm from Wells County.
Hello everyone, I'm McKinley. I'm the Ag Council representative and I'm from Hamilton County.
Hello everyone, I'm Caroline Donaldson. I'm on the Diamonds and Denim Planning Committee and I'm from Lake County.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel McDonald. I'm from Johnson County and then I also live in Shelby County.
Hello everybody, my name is Kylie Badel. I am the president of Collegiate 4-H and I'm so glad you're here to join us tonight. And I am originally from Vanderburgh County.
Again, I'm Paige Jacobs and I'm from Elkhart County. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about mastering a 4-H meeting, balancing business and fun, talking through officer reports, officer qualities, and the most important, life after 4-H.
So hello everybody, we're going to walk through the first steps of mastering a 4-H meeting. And the first thing is you have to make it your own. Every meeting can be ran differently, tailor it to your club, your needs, and what you want to do. So I'm going to ask all the other officers in the room, what should we do first? Should we have a game with our meetings? Should we have pledges?
Pledges.
Pledges?
Yeah.
Look at that. We already knocked that one right off the checklist. So then after we do our pledges and you know your officer team, why don't we get to know everyone else in the club? 4-H is all about meeting and learning new people. So that's called icebreakers. It's a great way to meet all of the different kids in your club. And it's where everyone of all ages can participate and get to know each other. So a great icebreaker we like to play in my clubs at home is ask about your favorite project. So I go first. My favorite project when I was in 4-H was showing meat goats and animal posters. Anybody else like to tell your favorite icebreaker?
Hi, my favorite project was showing beef cattle.
Hi all, my favorite project was fashion review.
My favorite project was shooting sports.
My favorite project was horse and pony and leathercraft.
And my favorite project was showing llamas. And then the next important part of making the meeting your own is having a comfortable environment for everyone. So you want to establish an environment where members feel free to join in and express themselves. You want to create a feeling of inclusion and acceptance within your club, where you can discover everyone's different strengths and weaknesses, both on your committees and your different club, and then just the members within. So one of the questions on your worksheet is how can you be more involved in your club's meetings? So what ways can you guys be more involved in your club meetings? And our officers are also going to share about ways they can get involved.
So one way that I kind of included myself in my clubs back home was making sure that I was a mentor to the younger kids in my county.
And you can also share personal stories to model inclusivity and connect emotionally with your peers. If you guys also want to answer these questions in the chat, feel free to do that as well. We'd love to see your answers.
One thing that I did is in our club, we had a lot of young members and then some high school members. So we made sure that our recreation was a game that we could have all members participate. And then we were able to have the high school kids be able to interact with the elementary school kids.
So one of the things we did in my 4-H time is I was a state 4-H ambassador, and we had a wide variety of different kids with different backgrounds. So learning about people that come from all the different counties and all the different projects that they do, as well as not maybe even projects in 4-H, but community outreach was really important.
Additionally, another way to create a greater involvement within your club is to make sure that everyone is well educated on the events that you're planning or have planned. So whether you have like a social media account or you use a group chat of some sort, just keeping that up to date, especially as an officer, just making sure that everyone in the club is on the same page. That way you can have greater involvement within your club.
Okay, the next important part about mastering a meeting is planning ahead. You want to be professional when you're having your meeting, so planning ahead will help save time and promote progress. This means you want to know all of the officer team strengths and weaknesses. That way you can properly delegate the tasks to officers with their specific strengths. So here is one version of a mock agenda. So this is something that you would plan ahead of time. That way all of the officers know what they're going to be talking about and what they're going to do. So you would plan out the order you're going to do things and what would be talked about.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about SMART goals. So creating SMART goals can boost success in your club. Okay, so SMART goals stands for specific. So you're going to make your goal very specific and clear so you know what it's talking about. You're going to make it measurable to ensure the goal and the progress can be measured. And then you're going to make it achievable. So the goal needs to be able to be accomplished within a specific time frame. And then it should also be relevant. So it should align with the values and the long-term objectives of your club. And it should also be time bound. So set a realistic end date so that you and your club can accomplish this in a time period. So just one example of a SMART goal. So if we want to increase the club membership, we could say that we want it to be increased by 15% through hosting events in social media and a social media campaign. That would be the specific part of it. To measure this, we could track the number of the new members joining and monitor social media engagement. To make sure it's achievable, we can host 2 events and leverage the social media. Leveraging social media are both 2 realistic actions to increase visibility and attract new members. To make it realistic, we're growing membership. It helps the 4-H club to fulfill its mission of providing educational and leadership opportunities to the youth. And then our time period, so maybe you want to achieve this goal within 6 months. So now we're going to create a SMART goal for delivering an educational presentation or activity during an upcoming 4-H club meeting. So this is on your worksheet. If you guys want to practice creating a SMART goal, I'd love for you guys to work through that in your worksheet. It's broken down with specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time. So if you guys want to do your best, and then we'll go over 1 or 2 that we thought of together. So an example might be that you want to teach the 4-H club how to plant seeds for a small vegetable garden during your next 4-H meeting. You can measure that by having at least 80% of the members successfully planting their own seeds in maybe a small pot or something like that. You can achieve this by preparing the materials that you need, including seeds, soil, and pots, and then practice the planting steps on your own before the meeting so you're well prepared to present that to your club. This can be relevant by this activity might help your club members learn the basic gardening skills. Maybe that's your demonstration for the club that month or something like that. And it can contribute to your community garden project possibly. You can make this time bound by saying that you'll complete the activity within 20 minutes during a 4-H meeting, maybe specifically tonight possibly.
Okay, guys, it's me, Rachel, again. I just want to talk a little bit about how you can balance your business and fun. So, a good rule of thumb is about spending 15 to 20 minutes on business, whether you decide that you want to start with new business or old business, especially after you've already had the treasurer and secretary's report. And then spending about 15 to 20 minutes on recreation. Sometimes you want the recreation games to last longer if it's more of a fun meeting. If it's more of a business heavy meeting, making sure that you have recreation that meets both of those. And then about 40 to 60 minutes on education. So first off, you kind of want to call your meeting to order when you are starting a meeting. You can then go through pledges. Obviously, you want to do the 4-H pledge and the American pledge. After that, it kind of opens up the floor to your thoughts and announcements for the meeting. And then we can go on to roll call. So roll call is meant to be creative and you can tailor this to the size of your club. So for a small club, you can have a everybody kind of popcorn style say their favorite 4-H project that they have completed. Or they could even discuss very briefly something that the member is looking forward to, just so that you can get attendance. In large clubs, I know me personally, I'm a leader in Poultry Club in Elkhart County, and we use a QR code to take attendance. And you can even do would you rather questions just to get large club involvement, as it is kind of hard sometimes when you have so many people involved. After that, you can go into officer reports. We will talk about this a little bit later. However, this would be one of the next steps. After that, you kind of want to work into your new and unfinished business. And you can break out into committees if that's something that your club has. So when working through business, you kind of want to simplify Parley procedure. So using Parley, you want to make sure that the person speaking is recognized before they start speaking, just to ensure that everybody is listening before a motion has been made and making decisions. So there also must be a second to every motion when you make a motion. And then after the motion has been made, you want to discuss the motion. So, for example, a mock motion could be that I move that we host a bake sale as a fundraiser. So once the motion is made, there can be discussion about it. Does anyone have any opposition to us hosting a bake sale?
I agree. I second the motion.
Okay, so then obviously you need to have a second to every motion and then we can vote. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, there is a question really quick about how many people is considered large or small. So I've had I've personally been in clubs where we have only 25 members, and I would consider that a small group of people. Poultry Club in Elkhart County has 200 members in club enrolled. So that is where we kind of drew the line of being a small and large, but obviously fit it to however your club best likes, either doing the more intimate questions of, what is your favorite animal or something simple like that, or you can make it easier for yourself and only spend with a large club. If you have 200 members, it's going to take a lot more time to get through that roll call comparative to with only 25 members, if that makes sense. So when could parley procedure be used? Voting on a motion, electing officers, things of that nature. And more information can be found in the handout provided about parley procedure from the Utah State University.
All right. And next up, we have recreation. So recreation is important because it allows members to cultivate relationships with each other that encourage teamwork, they promote leadership skills, and it ultimately leads everyone into the education aspect of the meeting. Or it's a great way to round out the end of the meeting. I know personally I've done recreation at the beginning or at the end, so whichever works best for your club. But either way, it's important to tailor your recreation activity to all ages because we are trying to provide an environment that is educational and does promote those leadership values. And so by having the recreation activity tailored to all ages, it ensures that everyone is included and everyone gets that strong learning experience from the recreation activity. And some examples include doing a scavenger hunt, playing 4-H bingo, maybe with different projects or your favorite activity or 4-H trip you've been on, doing a Jeopardy game to learn more about your favorite topic or something that involves the 4-H program. Team building activities are super fun. That's a great way to get to know one another and kind of build your leadership skills as well. And there are more recreation activities found in the handout provided. So be sure to take a look at that to get some good ideas for your next club meeting.
Hi guys. So now we're going to talk about education. So you want to make sure you tailor the educational message to fit all ages of the members of your group. So you want to keep in mind, maybe your group is more on the younger end, more 3rd, 4th, 5th graders. Maybe you have more high schoolers. Just think about that and just be able to have something that can involve everyone in your group. And just know the learning styles of your club. Like you can have somebody come in maybe and do a lecture style meeting, but a lot of learning happens when you're doing hands-on things. Maybe you're making materials or doing a big group activity where everyone can be involved. You want to encourage all age groups to work together, maybe. You learn from each other as well, not just from whoever's presenting. So maybe if you're doing an educational activity and you split off into groups, try to promote having older kids with younger kids so that they can learn from each other as well, not just from the activity. Encourage demonstration by peers. Just imagine your friend teaching you something or your teacher from school teaching you something. Like, which one are you going to be more excited about, So you'll have a lot more fun if you have peers in the group to teach other people about things. And it also encourages leadership and involvement for members in the group doing that. And then you can also, just some examples of some different educational activities you could do. You could focus on health, you could focus on safety, citizenship, or even community service.
So, hey guys, I'm back again. And so when you're thinking of building business and building meeting agendas and putting on meetings for yourself and for your fellow 4-Hers, what are things or what are ways you think we can balance business and recreation and education and all at your meetings? Because you may not want that perfect 15-minute, 15-minute, 40-minute split. Maybe you want to have a really fun meeting and play a lot of games and get really engaged. So maybe you're going to add more time into recreation and less time into education. Or maybe you're doing peer-based education and demonstrations. So you're going to have a lot of time teaching each other how to do demonstrations. So just really think about that. And as you're thinking about that, what's something that you think your club does well right now? And how can you either improve upon it or maybe teach another club how to do that? So why don't you guys put something in the chat that you think your club does really great right now? Maybe it's a guest speaker, maybe it's a game, maybe it's demonstrations. Just let us know what you think you do great so we can teach other clubs about it.
I think that one thing that our club does really well at back home in Elkhart County is getting everybody the same opportunity to be successful. I think Elkhart County does a really great job at giving everybody the information that they need and to give them opportunities, even if it's something that they're not super familiar with. One thing that I think my club did well during my 10 years of 4-H was that we worked really hard to do different recreation games all the time so that people always were excited for the game. And so then we tried to make our business fun as well. So we had talked about asking a fun question for roll call or doing something kind of like that. So I think as long as you can always implement some aspect of fun in addition to the other fun activities that you do with your club, that's always something really valuable.
Something I really enjoyed that my club did was senior buddies. So the senior members would be paired with new people. So that would give them someone to talk to at the club meetings. They would get to know more people and they'd have someone they could ask questions.
I would say one thing that my club and my junior leaders did back home especially is created a welcoming environment that was inclusive for everyone, whether anyone was coming through various walks of life, just creating an environment where everyone could grow and make themselves the best they could be, but also interact with others and teach them valuable life skills that they could take with them through the rest of their life, but all while doing so in a welcoming environment where people can feel free to be themselves and gain as much learning opportunities as possible. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is officer reports. So officer reports are really important because those are going to be how you communicate different things that are going on with your club with the other members of your club. So we're going to look at a couple officer reports, some that are good, some that are maybe not so good. So we're going to look at secretary reports, treasury reports, and committee reports. So we're going to start out with secretary reports. So here is one of the reports. And as you guys are looking at it, go ahead and put in the chat, what do you think is done really well in this report? So what are some things that we see that are good? Some things that you might be noticing is that they have the date, the location, all the information on it, and they have it separated out really clearly, so that allows them, you can really read everything that's going on and you can see very clearly. Okay, here's another officer report. So this one we can see is a little different than example 1. So what are some things that this officer report could do better? So some of the things you might be noticing is it's just not very clear. If you were to reread this officer report later because you wanted to know what happened in the meeting, it'd be hard to know what actually happened, and there's just not as much information in it. So those are some differences that you can see as you guys are writing officer reports.
Okay, guys, now we're gonna move on to the treasure report. So you can take a look at this. Here in our first example, there's a lot of detail. You can see that they have the beginning account balance. They have what the treasure report is for, which date, the money they received, the payments made, So kind of take note of that on your handout, see what you think that they did well, and kind of ask yourself, is this something that my treasurer did? If you are the treasurer of your club, are you keeping a ledger like this as well? And then here's a bad example. Apparently this person doesn't know what their 4-H club name is. They also don't know how much money they have. So beginning balance, money sign, question mark, question mark, question mark, obviously a problem there. They said that they got some money from a fundraiser donation. They got some club dues. They're not really sure where. They also don't know how much money they received. So obviously not a lot of detail here. They spent some money on supplies, they paid a fee, they got shirts for something, and they also don't know how much money they made. So, and they're not sure they're any balance, and they're missing a signature. So, very two different sides. And so kind of take a look at that and ask yourself, if you're the treasurer, what do my reports look like? Or if you aren't the treasurer, kind of thinking, oh, what do my club look like? Is there a way that I can make it more detailed and make sure that it's very clear? And then always making sure you have that signature.
So this is just an example for a committee report. You can tailor this to any committee that you might have. We just chose to highlight the fundraising committee. So as you can see in the example 1, they describe and list how many members are present and their names, what the purpose of this committee meeting was. They have an agenda. So they clearly defined what they talked through, the event planning that took place, and then they proposed a process and took some notes, maybe miscellaneous notes that they just need to keep in the back of their mind. And then they went ahead and discussed their next steps after this meeting has happened. So, for example, Sarah Thompson is going to design the promotional materials because they're going to make their fundraising for the upcoming club basket auction. And then they discuss the adjournment and who it's submitted by. So there are clear purpose and goals, details, and accountability were included, and there are actionable steps in place. So in our second example, obviously it's lacking a little bit of detail, and there's not very many goals, not really a lot of detail in what the next steps will be, just saying that, they will meet soon. What is the timeline of soon? There is no formal structure, and there's no clear roles and responsibilities, which could create ambiguity between the members of the committee, as some people aren't going to know or might not remember what was discussed in the meeting and know their goals and responsibilities throughout the timeline.
So we have learned quite a few things about correct officer reports. So I would like to shift gears and have you look at your handout real quick. There's an opportunity for you to write your own officer report and like a little guideline. So I definitely suggest looking through that handout and using that as a template for you to write your officer reports. And then we'll go ahead and assess this question here. So think about 1 to 2 things that you noticed from the officer reports we just looked at, whether they were good things or bad things, and think about how you can apply those good things to your club or your future role as an officer, and also think about those bad things as well to kind of stray away from them in the future so that you don't end up making those mistakes in your officer report as well.
So one thing you might have taken away from this is that it's very important to have officer reports be as detailed as possible so that you can go back and look at them and know what you did at specific meetings, or like for the treasurer, it's very important to keep track of financial in case you want to maybe purchase something for your club in the future. You need to make sure you know. how much money you have to spend.
Another important aspect is to think about that the officer reports might be read by someone who wasn't at the meeting. So you want to make sure to include details for not just the people who were present and heard the information, but people who are hearing the information for the first time from your report.
Another key takeaway that you might take with a committee, for example, is the committee chair should be at the meetings as much as possible, and they're kind of the spokesperson for the committee. So when creating the officer reports, you want to make sure that the chairman can delegate and give responsibilities to each of the members of the committee.
Okay, so now we're gonna shift to talking about qualities of officers. So I just want to let you guys know that in your worksheet, there's a big chart that you can fill out as we go for different qualities of specific officers. I also know somebody in the chat had asked if we were going to talk about how to be a president, and we definitely are, don't worry. But just so you guys know, officer roles can be adapted to fit your club needs. It's most popular to have like the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, but there's so many other officer roles that you could have in your club if you need them. You don't have to have them, but just know that those are options to have. And yeah, just make sure you're following along with your worksheet. If you want to write in the chat what you're thinking as we go, you can as well.
So I'm here to talk about the president. Well, it makes sense. I am the president of Collegiate 4-H, and this is actually my 5th president's role that I've been in since I was in 4-H and now that I'm in college. So a president in the sense of in a meeting, they're calling the meeting to order. They have the agenda made. They know exactly what everybody's going to talk about and bring that business meeting all together. The person that has to know everything that's going on within the club, all the working pieces, so that they can talk to all their officers, talk to their members, and see what needs to be worked on, what needs to be done. In the meetings, it's my job to guide the meeting, encourage that every member has an active speaking role. I'm a very loud person. I try to talk to all my members, but there's some members that are very quiet, and a really great president knows how to talk to every single one of them and make sure their opinion also gets heard in those meetings. It is also the job of the president is to work with volunteers as well as the officer team and leaders to establish the agenda and to establish every other thing that's going on during those meetings. So now we're gonna move on to the next one.
Kylie, we actually have a question for you.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
let's hear it.
So how do you know when you are doing a good job about being a president?
So when you're doing a good job as a president, I think this is a hard question to ask because it's not something you could put numbers on paper and score yourself. One thing I like to do, and all my officers, I know they hate seeing my emails, but I ask for feedback. I say, hey, what am I doing good at? What could I improve on? Oh, and one thing that we added to Collegiate 4-H meetings this year, so the first time ever, is we do snaps for success at the beginning of our meetings. So it's open to the floor for everyone. Anybody can bring up something great that's going on, whether it's a good exam score, or it's an internship, or maybe they got a new dog at home. It's just something that they can share, and then we all celebrate with them, no matter how big or how little that win is. So that's something cool that we like to do. So any other questions, Emma? I hope I answered their question about being a good president.
Nope, that's it.
That's it?
Yep, we'll go on to the next part.
All right. So the person that backs up the president is the vice president, obviously. So when the president's not there, they're filling in their shoes, whether that person has a sick day or they're at another event, that the vice president is there to be the fill-in for the president. They work closely typically with parents, volunteers, and other officers on different activities. And they serve as the chairperson of a program committee. Here in Collegiate 4-H's program, we have 4 different committees, and myself, I run 2 of the committees, or oversee 2 of the committees with my officer team, and my vice president oversees the other 2 of the committees. So overall, we work together as a team, as the executive group, to kind of run the club. My vice president asks when I need help, and she offers the help she needs. And then it goes back and forth to whatever we can do. I also know in my county, at home in Vanderbilt County, commonly vice presidents plan some of the meeting pieces. So my sister is currently a vice president in a club, and she actually got guest speakers for the club this year. So every vice president role is a little bit different depending on what the club's constitution and requirements are. So you can take that with what you wish. You may do something completely different in your clubs, but really they're just one of the main supporting roles of the officer team.
Kylie, before you leave,
Yes.
Avery asked, how do you keep your club members in order without making them think you're bossy?
I can tell you sometimes this is a challenge. I have been involved in a lot of clubs. I mean, obviously you can shout and say, hey, everybody, look over here. But sometimes it doesn't always work. I know professors in classes, they'll ask you to clap if you can hear them. I figured that's probably something that's been done in the classroom. Sometimes it's a fine line, and I know it's a challenge if you can not try to be bossy. But just trying to see a group consensus and see if you can get everyone all on the same page is kind of what I tried to do. Hopefully I answered your question. If not, let me know and I can try to answer it better.
Good.
Good? All right. If you have anything else, let me know. I've done a lot.
Alrighty, moving on to our next officer position, we have the secretary. It's the secretary's role to keep accurate minutes of all the meetings and then present those minutes at the next meeting. I will say in your worksheet, there is the officer report, and this is especially important for the secretary to kind of utilize that template if you're struggling with taking notes. That'll be a really great place to start. Because you are in charge of keeping the accurate minutes of everything that's happening in the meeting. And then you're also responsible for keeping records of attendance, keeping all those club reports and present past minutes as well. And then it is important to remember that if the president and vice president are gone, let's say a very unfortunate event happens and neither the president or vice president are able to make it to the meeting, then it will be the secretary's responsibility to take in that role and lead the meeting for the night. And then moving on to the treasurer. The treasurer is responsible for receiving all of the money and keeping it in order. They keep an accurate record of all money received and its source. So whether that came from a fundraiser or a donor, or whether we paid for pizza for our meeting one night, that treasurer is responsible for keeping all those books, transactions in order. And not only are they responsible for recording the money that comes in and out of the club, but they're also responsible for reporting those details back to the club during the meetings on the money received, the money that was paid out, and then the amount that we still have on hand.
Yeah. Would you say that a treasurer would be an easy or a hard job?
I will say being a treasurer definitely takes a lot of time and commitment. I wouldn't necessarily say easy or hard because everyone's a little bit different and everyone finds success in different things in life. So I would say being a treasurer definitely requires time. I would say it would probably help to be good at math. If that's not your thing, you can learn along the way. And ultimately, being an officer in 4-H is all about learning and gaining new experiences. So if you're interested in being a treasurer, just consider it takes time and effort and responsibility. But I say if you're interested in it, then definitely go for it. And you have a strong band of leaders and peers around you to help you learn along the way.
Oh, I have one more question for
perfect.
you. What is your favorite officer role?
Oh my goodness gracious. That's a hard one. Okay, I would say I've been in many officer roles in the past. I would say one of my favorite officer roles, I like the recreation leader and the secretary. I would say those are like my top two because you get to have fun as a recreation leader and kind of bring everyone together, make sure everyone's feeling included so that they can learn to the best of their abilities. And then I also like being the secretary because I love taking notes. And so that's a great way for me to take my notes and benefit the club at the same time. Are there any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Perfect.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about News Reporter. This might not be one you're familiar with, but that's okay. You're going to learn about it tonight. So you're going to create articles about the club. You're maybe going to use social media to advertise special events. You can correspond with the newspaper if you want your events posted in the newspaper. You can be responsible for a scrapbook. Maybe if your club gets into the newspaper, maybe you're taking those news clippings and putting them in the scrapbook. And also in the scrapbook, you could maybe keep track of the club history, maybe when it started, and just the timeline of how it's going now today. So recreation leader, this is one Caroline said she loved, but in this position, you can plan recreational activities. So you can do games. You can make sure that these are suitable for like the age and desire of your club and the amount of time you have. You also will lead these recreational activities, so you're getting that leadership experience in as well, and this can boost morale. I don't know, one of my favorite memories of my club was one summer we did a water balloon fight for a recreational activity, and I absolutely had a blast for that. But you can do so many other things. You can play games inside, outside. You can make them educational or not, just whatever fits you and your club.
I have a question for you.
Ooh.
Bryn Bishop wants to know, how do you know when people will like your ideas that you do?
Yeah, so you can base it on how many people participate in your activity, or even just take into account, like, maybe are people all the same age? Are they all involved in similar things, or how many different desires does your club have in the the time that you have available? You could also maybe ask at the end of the meeting, or if you have multiple ideas, you could have your club vote on which one they want to do that day. You can also do a survey. Like at the end of this meeting, we're going to have a survey for you guys all to fill out and tell us what you think and what we could do to improve or what you like about it. You could do something like that as well.
Turner Taylor wants to know, how long do you suggest the game is?
So like we talked about in the beginning of the meeting, you want that recreation time to be between 15 to 20 minutes. That's more if your meeting is an hour long, but just keep it at that quarter to a third of your meeting length would be ideal.
Jelstra wants to know, what if we don't have this position at our club, and who could take over it?
Yeah, so if you don't have this position in your club, that's definitely something you could add. You can step up and be a leader and ask your advisor to make that position available for you if you want to take into that role. But also all the officers that you do have could coordinate together and make these activities available for everyone in your group. Any other questions?
Next, we're going to go and talk about the song coordinator. So this person plans songs, they lead the singing. This really boosts morale of the club, and the whole point of this is to involve everybody, because everyone, even if you're a bad singer, can still sing. So, for example, this would be something that a song coordinator could do.
Okay, so we have prepared a little song for you. This was a song that Vanderbilt County absolutely loved for no reason, but we love it. So it's a repeat after me song. So all the officers are going to repeat after what I say, and then you'll kind of play along. So if you want to sing, you can sing at home. Just keep your mics muted. Okay, we good? All right. So Reese Peanut Butter Cup.
Reese Peanut Butter Cup.
This is a song to pump us up.
This is a song to pump us up.
Bang bang choo choo train.
Bang bang choo choo train.
Come on, Carol, do your thing.
But I can't.
Why not?
I just can't.
Why not?
I just can't do it, Kylie. I can't do it.
Why not?
Because my back's too sore and the sun's too hot and my booty only shakes from the left to the right and the left
to the right
and
and the left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Okay, now we kind of know what song leader does. I know you can't say anything, but I know this is not a This is not something that every county does, but I figured we'd give you a little demonstration on kind of some of the fun things we do. So this is like kind of like camp songs or different things you would do at like 4-H camp. You do it at your meeting every single month.
What if you're afraid to get up in front of your club? Anybody?
Well, I think that 4-H kind of, if everybody's doing it, then you can do it too. It kind of reduces the stress or embarrassment of being the only person leading it. So I think that the song coordinator really does have to be someone who's willing to be out there and boost everyone's participation and really loves getting people involved. Is there anything else? Okay, now we're going to talk about the health and safety leader. So this individual plans and gives a brief talk or presentation at the club meeting on a health and safety topic. So they need to stay up to date on health and safety relevant to what your club is about. Obviously, they need to plan and present the activity or discussion about the health and safety, and it's really important to have interactive presentations. So for example, I was in bicycle club in Elkhart County, and we didn't necessarily have a health and safety leader, but we had one individual each meeting give a demonstration on how to make sure that your bicycle is safe and ready for the trails. One example that I did personally was I made a trail mix so that everybody could understand and know what goes into a trail mix, and just really gave more ideas on how to be healthy and safe while on the trails. Are there any questions?
How do you know what ideas to come up with for these presentations?
So I think relating it back to what your club is about. So if you are involved in a shooting sports club, obviously making sure that you are being safe, making sure you wear eye protective wear, hearing protection, those kind of things. Just relating it back to whatever your club is involved in is super important, and you can use any Google or anything to find information. Make sure they're reputable resources, but using your resources is super important and creating these presentations. And if you can get an interactive piece or element to your presentation, that'll just boost your peers' learning and everything, and they making sure that you can ask and answer questions. Is there anything else?
Okay, guys, I'm going to talk to you about either a technology or social media coordinator. In Purdue Collegiate 4-H, I am our social director. And so I run our Facebook and Instagram, and then I make all of the content that we share to all of our members. If any of your parents or you have social media, you're welcome to find us on Purdue Collegiate 4-H. And so you can see how that's spelled at the top of your paper. If you kind of want to check out what you can do when you come to college, that you can keep doing 4-H. And so one thing that I do in my position, and then you can too if you're in this position, is you manage the club's online presence. You take photos or videos of the activities. You create relevant posts that a lot of people will be interested in talking and about, and how they can get involved. Especially if someone's thinking about trying to join your club, it's kind of nice to see, oh, if I was to join this club, and they can see what it's like to be in that club. And then you can also communicate with the community online. I know growing up in 4-H, one of my dad was one of the 4-H leaders of my club, and he managed a Facebook account for us. And so although my club didn't have this position, he used Facebook as a way to keep track of everything, make club announcements, post things that we were doing. And so that helped a lot of people kind of stay on the same page, especially if they miss a meeting, or they can just kind of find out what you're up to. Do we have any questions about being a technology or social media coordinator?
What might be a way to do this position if not many people in your club has phones?
This is a great question. So a lot of times, you can use club leaders' phones, especially if a leader could help you run it, or if they can buy a digital camera that for the club that you guys could take digital pictures, or you could just borrow a parent's phone. I think that that's a great way that you can do it. You don't have to have a phone to do this. You can use a computer at home. You could do anything like that. Do we have any other questions? Oh, yeah. We talked a little bit about how the news reporter can do a scrapbook, but also this position can do a scrapbook as well. So, also if you take photos of the activities, those pictures will be used for the scrapbook. And so then that way you can kind of look back on what you did over the years and see those pictures, because pictures definitely jog your memory better than words do. Do we have any other questions? All right, the last officer position would be the 4-H mission area coordinator. They encourage members to be involved in 4-H mission areas. You might be asking, what are the 4-H mission areas? Those areas are science, healthy living, civic engagement, and leadership. So that encourages members to be actively engaged in either one or more of them, whether that's with community service or what you do as a club, and then that way you can keep living out that 4-H mission. Do we have any questions about the 4-H mission area coordinator? Nope. Okay, guys, thanks.
So some of you are probably officers right now in your club, but some of you are probably looking to become officers in the future. So from what we've all talked about tonight, what are some things that you think you can do really well? Or what is a position that you see that maybe fits you and your personality? And you'll drop that in the chat, and then I know we have a couple questions to answer. So drop those. I'm going to see what everybody's favorite one is. Or if you don't have a favorite one, or if there's a new one that you just learned about tonight, why would you want to kind of add that to your club? That's something maybe you can think about and take back to your counties. So Emma, do we have any questions?
Yes. So Bryn asked, how do you take things in that are negative?
So taking in negative feedback is something we all have to learn about at one point in life, one way or the other. I think that's one thing 4-H teaches us very well if it's done right. So this is technically called constructive criticism. Not everything negative is always meant to be negative. Sometimes it's an opportunity that you can build upon in your club. So something that I can think of as a negative feedback in our club and in a past club was the members were not getting all the information we needed from the club leaders. And so that's something that we had to address. And it was just as simple as fixing, putting new emails into the email chain. So sometimes it can be fixed really easy, and sometimes it's a really hard problem that maybe you have to bring your extension educator into the conversation and your leader. But sometimes you just have to kind of take everything and kind of run with it. And not take it personally, because some people can be really harsh and it's not meant to be taken personally of how well or what's something you're doing in your position that could be changed. You have any other questions?
Yeah, we have a lot of people saying they want to be president.
Oh, we have some presidents.
Secretary, social media coordinator, vice president, community service coordinator. I'm loving all of this, guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. So actually in my time in 4-H, I've held a little bit of everything. So you don't have to just do one thing for 10 years or 2 years or whatever. I can tell you last year I was the treasurer of Collegiate 4-H. And the year before that I wasn't an officer, but I was just involved. But I know in every single one of us has done a position at some point in our 4-H career somewhere in the club or in something. Any other questions?
If your club is new, how can you organize a way to explain the rules in dropping off projects?
Okay. So I'm actually dealing with this right now at Purdue. I have a club that's very, very new. It's actually got restarted because after COVID. So sometimes it's just being honest. So making a PowerPoint like this, laying out all the rules and bullet points so that you grab people's attention. Sending emails if you're a leader and you can type up an email to the parents, because most of the time the parents are making the decisions, not always the 4-Hers. So sometimes you have to put that information in front of mom and dad. so that they know what's going on through 4-Hers lives. Remind is a great app to use. Like we said, social media, Facebook, Instagram. I bet almost every extension office in the state of Indiana does some type of newsletter or information release. So using those resources that your extension educators put out could be really influential. So I hope that answers the question, but just finding those resources or those ways of communication that can be utilized.
Bryn asked, how can you better make friendships with other officers or club members?
So the super simplest way I can say this is just talk to people. Be open, be willing to have a conversation, walk up to somebody and shake their hand and introduce yourself. When you get to college, it's called networking is the big fancy term for it. But it's learning a little bit about everybody and knowing their personal and professional goals in life and how you can help them. That's kind of how I get to know people.
I do not have any more questions.
All right, what are we moving on to?
Okay, guys, I hope that you guys have all been filling out your worksheet as we've gone along here. We're going to kind of transition to our officers talking about life after 4-H. So I'm just going to have all our officers get up here and I'll ask them a couple questions. Paige just put up some pictures of us and our club and things we've done. If you have any questions about that, please put them in the chat or raise your digital hand and we'll unmute you, or I can read your question as we go. But we're just going to have all the officers come up here and kind of share their story a little bit before we get going.
So obviously I was a 10-year member in Elkhart County. So first off, I was a part of a bunch of clubs. I think I completed at least in my first probably 7 years of 4-H, I took at least 20 projects a year, which was absolutely insane. Once I got into really knowing what I liked about each project, what I didn't like about each project, I kind of honed in on what kind of things I wanted to focus on and devote a lot of time to. So I decided that in Poultry Club, I wanted to be almost every officer position I could be. So I gave myself time in president, vice president. I was a secretary for at least 1 year. I was a part of the junior leader board in Poultry Club specifically. And then I loved that so much that I decided to be a part of the Junior Livestock Advisory Board Committee in Elkhart County. So I was overseeing every animal species in Elkhart County and kind of collaborating with a bunch of different people from all walks of life and different clubs just to help give myself a lot of opportunities of knowing what I do and maybe don't like about being a leader, and kind of focusing on the things that truly I was passionate about. I loved helping and mentoring younger people. So that's kind of where I focused a lot of my time on being a junior advisory board or junior livestock advisory board member, because I was able to really talk to everybody and anybody who would let me talk to them. So.
Okay, guys. So as I said a little bit earlier, I was a 10-year 4-H member in Johnson County. So shout out to anybody that's on the call that lives in Johnson County. And then I also live in Shelby County. My brother's in Shelby County 4-H. And so just a little bit about like my experience as a 4-H member. So I held almost every officer position you could except for treasurer. So I did health and safety, I did recreation, I was secretary for 2 years, and then I was vice president for 2 years, and then I also was the president my last 2 years of 4-H. And so I had a little bit of experience in all of that, and having all of those leadership positions made me realize that, you know, when I found out that I could have the opportunity to continue doing 4-H here at Purdue, I really wanted to be involved in being on the officer team. And so last term, I ran to be our social director. And so I get to have a lot of fun opportunities with helping plan either social media stuff, and then also making our t-shirts, like these fun polos that we have. We get to help design some of those things like that. And then when it came time that I was a senior, I was applying to college, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. I'm a public relations major, which is a fancy word for basically communications. And so, coming to Purdue, then I went to the Be Involved Fair and I found out about Purdue Collegiate 4-H, and I was like, man, this is something I'd really like to be involved in. And so then ever since then, I got to do that. And then also I just wanted to touch on that also with 4-H, you can meet a lot of lifelong friends. I don't know if anybody has ever been to either a state 4-H trip or leadership academy, but my college roommate I had last year, I actually met at 4-H Leadership Academy. And so that was a little preview I got to go, because during Leadership Academy, you get to come to Purdue. And so then I got to meet my roommate that way. And so there's just a lot of cool experiences that 4-H can give you like that. So if you end up choosing to come here for college, you can continue doing 4-H and join Purdue Collegiate 4-H. So we hope to see some of you guys here soon.
All right, hi everyone. I was a 9-year 4-H member in Lake County, so I know there's a little club in Lake County meeting tonight. So hey guys, hope you're doing well. Hope you've been enjoying the session. So I started in 4th grade in 4-H, and one of the first projects that I did was the dog project and the horse and pony project. And then it kind of stemmed out from there over the years. I like to kind of go around the different barns and show all the animals. So I showed horses and goats. I also did dairy steers and sheep. So that was a lot of fun. Not only did I enjoy getting involved in the barns and working with the different animals, but I also really liked the building projects as well. So leathercraft, creative writing, and educational posters were some of my favorites, I will say. But not only was doing the projects in 4-H super cool, but I also really enjoyed the leadership and civic engagement opportunities. So I know Rachel mentioned like going to academy and roundup and different camps and everything. And that was a great way to meet new people and then develop my life skills. And those are skills that I still use in college. So things like communication and teamwork and leadership and time management and staying organized. Being responsible of myself and others and respectful of everyone's time are some skills that I learned in 4-H, but now I can apply them to my daily life in college. I will say one of the main reasons why I chose Purdue was because they do have a strong agriculture program, and 4-H is a part of that program as well. So it's a great opportunity where I can extend my learning and development in college while also helping others do the same thing.
All right, everybody. So like I said, you've heard from me a lot tonight. My name's Kylie. I grew up in Vanderburgh County, which for anybody who doesn't know, it's down south all the way in Evansville. I started 4-H not knowing really what 4-H was in the 3rd grade. My dad was a 4-H alum, but my mom had never heard of it before. And I took 4 projects my very first year. And so we really tested the waters and I fell in love with it. 4-H was something I found a very sense of home in it and I could grow in myself. And by the time I was getting into junior high and high school, I started doing all the different officer positions and trying all the different things. I ended up being in 3 clubs, Scott Achievers, which is a county club, livestock club, and then junior leaders when I was in high school. At the end, I actually was the president of all 3. So I got to really step up and try to lead those clubs and to help kids that, like I started, come into 4-H and really try new things. And by the time I was a senior, I was presenting at state speech contests and doing like 10 projects in livestock at the end. So you can really grow. You don't have to start out doing 20 projects a year or anything. You can grow yourself into that. Coming to Purdue was one of the easiest decisions I ever made. I was going to be an ag student and Purdue made the most sense. It was in-state. My parents both went to Purdue, and so that's how I came here. Not knowing that collegiate 4-H was an option. I thought I was done after my 10 years, and I walked in, and at the Be Involved Fair, collegiate 4-H found me, in the sense of they found me, they recruited me, I came to a meeting, and I've been here ever since. Last year, I was the treasurer in collegiate 4-H, but I also hold officer positions in other clubs. I'm currently the president of Purdue Goat Club. So if you guys like goats, there's also a Goat Club, just so you know, there's a little 5-second little speech. I'm also the Ag Council representative for Agribusiness Club. And then there's also an event that Collegiate 4-H gets to put on. It's called the Diamonds and Denim Ag Ball. So if you like prom or junior high dances, there's something at Purdue just for ag kids or ag kids and those related to us. So we like to have fun and do line dances and dance all night. And Purdue's just been a really great experience for me. I'm actually graduating early and going into graduate school in the fall. So Purdue offers a lot of different opportunities and different things. And I've actually been really lucky to be recognized as an outstanding student in the animal science and the ag econ department. So I know all kinds of different activities. Do not be scared of going to Purdue. We are large, but we're small when you really get into each individual major or clubs. I mean, Purdue Collegiate 4-H, we're 15 to 20 members strong, and we're like a little close-knit family. So don't be scared. We're here to support you. And yes, that is a picture of me in a bald cap at the bottom corner with my minions. So Collegiate 4-H likes to have fun too. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, guys, I'll give you a quick spiel about me, and then we have quite a few questions in the chat that we're going to start answering. I'll give an opportunity for all the officers to talk about that. And if you have more questions, just keep them going in the chat. We'll get them in a document and make sure they all get answered for you guys. So I'm from Wells County, which is the northeast corner of the state. Hey, if you're from there. I wasn't super involved as officer in my home county. I did vice president, treasurer, secretary for a couple years. I was a lot bigger into volunteering at the fairgrounds and things like that. As I decided to come to Purdue for the ag school. It's one of the best. It's ranked nationally and internationally, so that's always a plus. I also want to be a veterinarian, so I know that there's a vet school here, and hopefully that I'll apply there and get into there eventually. So like Kylie, I didn't know there was Collegiate 4-H coming in. They found me at the Be Involved fair. I believe it was actually Kylie and Julia that I talked to when I went there. I went to the first meeting and I found out that they were actually holding officer applications because they hadn't had every single officer position filled. So I took a leap of faith and I applied and stood in front of the club and stated my case of why they should choose me. And I've been a service director ever since. And I'm so glad we could put on this event for you guys. I just want you guys to know that there's so many major opportunities in college, no matter where you go. There's so many things that if you are interested in, you could probably major in something like that and make a career out of it. And if you come to Purdue, there's always Collegiate 4-H if you guys want to join. So I'm going to have all the officers come up here and I'll ask them questions that come into the chat.
We've had a few leave, so don't get worried. There's 4 of us here to ask questions too.
So somebody asked, what all clubs is everybody in besides Collegiate 4-H?
You can start.
All right, I'll go ahead and go first. So I'm involved in Collegiate 4-H. I am also involved in the Goat Club, which I know Kylie mentioned that earlier. I'm also involved in the Lilly Scholars Network. I just recently was selected to be a College of Agriculture ambassador, so I'm really excited to start that position. And let's see here. I'm also involved in biochemistry club. I'm majoring in biochemistry, so that's a really great way for me to reach out to other peers who are in biochemistry, kind of talk about our classes, our homework, but then also reach out to other companies and facilities that I might be interested in one day. And I think that rounds out all my clubs, at least the ones I can remember.
So like I said, Collegiate 4-H, Goat Club, Agribusiness Club, and then I'm also involved on something off campus, which is called AFA, which is Ag Futures of America. It's kind of an extension of FFA in a sense, and it's actually really great if you're in the College of Ag. It's a really great opportunity to network with kids from all across the country and all the ag universities, as well as take really fun trips.
So I'm only in 2 other clubs because I'm a busy girl and I like to be able to commit my time the best that I can to the clubs that I'm in. And so I'm in a sorority. If you guys know what a sorority is, I'm in Alpha Omicron Pi, and then I'm also in Greek University, which is a Bible study group.
I'm only involved in collegiate 4-H just because I'm taking a really heavy course load. So I get to devote all my time to putting on the officer training and creating it to be the best it can be.
This is a little bit different one. What's it like living in a dorm or apartment, having a meal plan, going to class, making friends? You can kind of just talk about little parts, and if you forget some, I'll remind you.
Yeah, I would say so. This is my first year at college, so I've only been here for one full semester, and I'm starting on the second half of the second semester here. Coming in, I will say it's a bit of an adjustment, right? You don't have your parents with you, you don't have your family pets. For me, I would say one of the biggest adjustments was like not going to the barn and doing chores every day, right? That's something that's different. So like, oh my goodness, what do I do with all my time? So definitely managing your time is something that you'll learn throughout the course. Going out and making friends is super important. That way you kind of have your clan of people. I will say it's probably easy to kind of come to college and like forget your family exists, right? Because like it's all new things, just absorbing all the newness. But definitely like reach out to your family back home, right? They still love you. They're still wondering about you. They want to know how your day's going. So reach out to them. In terms of dorm life, I would say some dorms are definitely better than others, so it's kind of like luck of the draw. You get what you get. But I would say none of the dorms are unlivable, right? There's pros and cons to everything. It is a smaller space, so when mom comes in and say, clean your room, like these are definitely things you want to practice in college because it's such a tiny space. You want to keep everything clean and tidy, and well organized.
So I lived in the dorm my freshman year, and in the last 2 years, I've actually lived in an apartment by myself. So going from the dorm to an apartment is different. In a dorm, you can go get food whenever you want to. So there's always a dining hall that's open with food ready to serve you. But when you live by yourself or live in an apartment, you have to learn to balance your time because you have to learn to cook, or if you don't know how to cook, you have to learn to cook. You have to cook your meals or meal prep, and then you also have to go to the grocery store because food just doesn't magically show up in the fridge. So you have to do all those fun things while also doing your schoolwork, going to clubs, doing activities, and just becoming a well-rounded adult.
So I lived in a dorm last year. I live in our sorority house now, but last year when I lived in a dorm, it was kind of a bit of an adjustment. I lived in a double, which means that there's 2 people in a room. And so I was roommates with that girl that I had met at Leadership Academy. She's in Purdue Collegiate 4-H with me. And so kind of finding that adjustment, because maybe you have your own room at home, or if you share it with a sibling, it kind of prepares you for it. But you're in a small space with one other person. So kind of getting used to working together to clean the room, to work together, spending time with one another, getting to know each other. Those are all kind of important things. And so when you do live in the dorms, it's nice because you have the dining hall, but kind of like what Kylie had talked about, then you have to kind of learn and adjust to, how do I prepare food for myself? You also have to do your own laundry here. I don't know if any of you guys already do your own laundry. If you do, great. If you're used to mom and dad doing it, make sure that you know how to do your laundry before you come here, because that is not something that just gets taken care of in a snap. You have to do your own. So that's something to keep in mind too.
I also lived in a dorm. I've been in the same dorm 2 years in a row. It definitely my first year, it was definitely an adjustment. People having a roommate that is not on the same schedule as you is definitely something that you have to work through. And just knowing how to communicate. I went with a random roommate. I don't regret going with a random roommate, but also I think that it's important to be able to coexist and, live with people that you might not have the same similarities with, but it also teaches you and helps prepare you for working in teams in the real world. You're not going to be just stuck with people that have the same interests and think the same way as you, but it really is truly about learning how to manage yourself, but also managing your like
how to live with somebody else when you might not see eye to eye on everything.
Okay, I have one thing to add. So Purdue has these great things called learning communities if you live in the dorms, and I really suggest looking into them, even if you don't go through with them. I lived in a learning community my freshman year, and majority of my friends that I talked to every single day, we were all in that learning community. So in a learning community, there's some that where you live all on like the same floor within a dorm. And that's what happened with me. We lived all on the same floor in Earhart Hall, and those are the girls that I go to the bar with, or the girls that I actually have classes with. And one of the girls and I are actually looking to go into the same graduate school. So they become your lifelong friends and the people that you can count on when you are here.
I will say I was in a learning community my freshman year, the Women in Ag. That put me in Meredith South, which is one of the nicest dorms that are all women. So that was really nice. And to this day, I am with the same 4 or 5 girls every single day, and like I truly have built such a great community of, you know, when I have questions about homework, maybe I don't understand one specific topic and maybe my friend does. That just really helps you get through the long days and the hard classes. So I really suggest finding study groups and finding people that have the same interests or major as you, because you will be going through all the classes with the same people in your major. And so finding a good core group of people definitely will help you get through all of that.
Okay, going off of that, these two questions kind of go together in my opinion. How many roommates do you have or have to have, and what are the room sizes like in the dorms?
Yeah, I'll say it really just depends. Me personally, I just have one other roommate, so it's considered a double, like Rachel mentioned earlier. I know some of my other friends, they have 2 roommates, so that would be a triple. Depending upon how many people you have in a room, they try to make the rooms various sizes for how many people they're putting in. So I know there are some rooms that have up to 6 people in them. It's considered a like suite style. So they definitely have enough space for 6 people to live. I'm pretty sure some of them have like their own bathroom and like their own little kitchen area. So it really just depends. I would say there's a bunch of different sizes with a bunch of different numbers of roommates.
I just had one roommate my freshman year. And so it was a what we call a double in Earhart. You can find all the dimensions online. It's a very small room. It's like 12 by like 10 feet for 2 people with 2 closets. So you're like not on top of each other all the time, but you can be if you don't watch your space or how you do things. And then currently I actually live by myself in an apartment. So it's me and the houseplants. So we get along just fine. So it's whatever you want to make of your college experience. You can have roommates, you don't have to have roommates. It's whatever is most comfortable with you.
Yeah, kind of what Kylie said. You kind of get to choose for yourself what you want to do here. Your freshman year, get whatever dorm you get. Most of the time is luck of the draw. Whether you do a learning community, that kind of increases your chances of getting a better one. But it kind of just depends. However they want to run it. In the house that I live in right now, I live in a quad, which means that I have 3 other roommates, so there's 4 of us total. But our beds are built into the wall, and then we have little curtains that we can close, kind of like if you guys have ever slept on a train or seen movies where people sleep on a train, that's kind of what I would compare it to. So, but last year I lived in a dorm called Shreve, and in Shreve I just had one roommate, but some of the rooms in Shreve are triples, so that means that 3 people live there. So it kind of just depends. I have lived in a double the last 2 years, and then next year I'm moving into an apartment with one of the girls I was in a learning community with, and we will each have our own rooms.
Okay, do you have to live on campus?
No. So it's kind of recommended that you live on campus, but I can tell you right now, Purdue is kind of in a housing shortage. That is for on and off campus housing. Not to scare you or anything, but not all, if you don't apply by the priority deadlines, you may not have an on-campus dorm. I technically my apartment is now is considered off campus, but I actually live like right next to campus. If everybody knows where the Purdue greenhouses are. I could throw a rock and hit them. So I live super close. I walk everywhere I go, which is really nice. And so if you live off campus, you do have to have like parking permits and stuff, or you can ride the bus. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. There's options for everybody, and it also kind of depends on what's in your budget when you get here, because money, it does cost money to come to Purdue. It's not, it is cheap, but it's not free. So that's something to be aware of.
Yeah, kind of touching on that. Everyone on this call lives in Indiana, so automatically Purdue is cheaper for you because you would be in state. And so that kind of makes it a little bit more easier to make a decision about where you want to live. You don't have to live on campus, but I do think that for making friends and being more involved and having more access to easily go to classes and everything, I do recommend living on campus. I mean, there is options for everything, but when you do live on campus, you can wake up later, so because you can just walk to class, you don't have to worry about driving or finding the bus, catching the bus. One nice thing though is that we have a system called the City Bus, which they run Monday through Friday all through campus, and so there's like a little app on your phone, and then you can get on that app and then see when the next bus is coming. So, and that bus will take you to Walmart if you need to go get yourself some groceries. It'll take you to the co-rec, which is like our gym. It can take you to your classes. So that's something that's kind of nice here at Purdue too.
I think to add on to that, with the cost, make sure that you guys know and are aware of the scholarships that Indiana 4-H and your county potentially gives out. I was able to secure 3 scholarships through Indiana 4-H, which helped immensely. I have one that is renewable for every year that I am at Purdue as well, but I have to maintain a 3.0 GPA, which isn't terrible, but just make sure that you're aware of all of the scholarships that Indiana 4-H and your counties have available. That is for you to be successful in getting a secondary education. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. I was a recipient of the 4-H Communications Scholarship, and so I get, as long as I keep a 3.0 GPA, I get $1,000 every year that goes towards helping pay my tuition. So if you have any questions about that, make sure you're asking your club leaders, your extension directors, and kind of seeing about what kind of opportunities that the Indiana State 4-H Foundation has for you.
And I can kind of touch on that, and I know Carol can too. She's technically full scholarship with Lilly Scholars. I am actually full scholarship through a 4-H program called the 4-H Club Scholarship. I didn't know what it was when I applied for it, to be honest. And then one day it showed up on my portal that my entire tuition bill was paid for. And so I am technically debt free because of collegiate, or not collegiate 4-H, but because of Indiana 4-H, and that scholarship is set up through the trustees of Purdue, and then they pick based on grades and financial need, and your willingness and your previous 4-H activity. So apply for it, look into it. Sometimes it just happens and you don't realize it's going to happen, and so I'm very grateful for that in a sense. I think Emma has.
I also have, real quick, I also have the club scholarship. Make sure that you are keeping track of everything that you have ever done in 4-H now. My senior year, I had to come up and remember everything that I had ever done, every ribbon that I had ever gotten, every position I had held, committee, everything. And so that is something that you want to keep in mind when applying for these scholarships, is a lot of them will ask you, like, what did you do, and like be specific. And so if you can keep a like accurate description of everything you did now, as you're going through your years of 4-H, that'll only help you when it comes time to applying to scholarships.
Okay, I know a couple of you are saying in the chat that you're going to trickle out, so I'm just going to skip to the next slide while we continue answering your questions. This is just the survey that we would like for you guys to fill out. So if you scan the QR code, I'll post the link in the chat as well. While you guys do that, we will keep answering your questions. So if you have more questions, keep shooting them in the chat, and I'll keep reading them off to our officers. But thank you guys so much for coming. We'll keep going with this. Yes, and the survey will also be sent out in an email after this is over as well. So we'll change it up just a little bit. What was the most fun thing in 4-H for you guys?
Go ahead, Paige.
I think the most fun thing from 4-H was obviously showing livestock, but then on the last day of fair, the Junior Livestock Advisory Board, which is something that I was a part of, we put together a activity where we could go, all the livestock like clubs would put together a team and we would all compete against one another in the horse arena, and it would just be a muddy, super fun mess, and just some really fun competition between each of the livestock clubs.
I would say my all-time favorite 4-H experience, it's hard to pick just one, but I would say I really enjoyed the State Junior Leader Conference. I know that's kind of not really existing at the moment. However, there is the Teen Leadership Weekend coming up, which should be pretty mirror image of what the State Junior Leader Conference was like. So I definitely recommend going on state trips and pursuing those like state trips and camps, because that can only not only give you an idea of what like campus life is like. So I know there's been many questions about like living in the dorm and like going to classes and walking and transportation and stuff. Definitely look into 4-H Roundup, 4-H Academy, Teen Leadership Weekend that's coming up. Look into those state opportunities because that will give you a great idea as to what living at college is like. It'll let you network with other 4-Hers from around the state of Indiana, and it just ultimately helps you develop a variety of skills. But I would say like the most like exciting and fun memories I've ever had in 4-H were definitely at those state trips.
So I really enjoyed the state trips too. I participated in a trip that I don't know if it happens anymore, but it was a citizenship Washington focus trip that is to Washington D.C. And we took a whole charter bus full of 4-H kids, 9 to 10 hours to Washington D.C. So we had played games and sang songs, did stuff on the way there. We had a fun time there. We also came back. But I also really enjoyed my county fair. In my house, it was kind of it was like almost like an achievement week. We spent all summer working towards completing our projects and working with our animals, so we had a lot of fun. It's actually now something that I actually judge projects for at different county fairs, and I also because I do internships across the country, I have internships in Nebraska. I'm actually getting to come home for the county fair. It's something that means so much to me that my boss is actually going to give me the time off so I can come home for it.
Charlotte asked, how has your experience as a 4-H'er benefited you as an adult?
So I think my experience as a 4-H'er has really shaped me into who I am as a person today. Not only my life skills, but how I run my life overall. How I look at making questions or projects or just focusing on different things. My 4-H skills have gotten me internships, they've gotten me leadership positions, they've gotten me everything under the sun because I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I can talk, I can lead, I can have a conversation, I can interview well. Those are skills that 4-H taught me that I now use every single day. But also, you don't realize how much professionalism 4-H teaches you until you're out in the real world, and you're talking with your peers who were not in 4-H or not in FFA or not in these activities, and you're like, wow, I'm so well prepared. And we kind of take it for granted because we're around these kind of people every day. But when you really get into the workforce, you can kind of see a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely contest to that. There's been quite a few times where I'm talking with the friends that I've made on campus and they're super worried about an upcoming interview or a career fair they have coming up. Where although sometimes it is natural to like feel those concerns, right, and the pressure of success. However, I feel much more prepared due to the experiences that 4-H has allowed me to have, whether it's taking part in those state scholarships and going through the interview process with that, which I do believe those interviews are coming up. So good luck to anyone who is pursuing that. But yeah, definitely like 4-H prepares you in many, many ways.
I think my biggest takeaway from my experiences at in 4-H was just getting myself used to talking to a bunch of people. Like if you knew me at like 5th grade, 6th grade, like I was timid, I was shy, didn't want to stand up in front of a group of people. But I'm 4th generation 10-year member from Elkhart County, so it's kind of in my blood to be in 4-H. And my mom, who is the Elkhart County Poultry Club leader, she kind of voluntold me and kind of threw me into a position where I had to, learn how to talk to a group of people and how to, lead and ask questions and those kinds of things. So I think that really helped me prepare not only to be a successful college student here at Purdue, but also just being able to put myself out there and walk that fine line of not being cocky, but also not being not confident enough. So making sure that I am confident and humble in what I do, but also keeping in my mind that there are other people that are applying for whatever it may be. And I'm actually, this summer I got an internship to go back to my home county and work for extension. And I think that has really instilled the passion of mentoring and being in animal sciences.
I heard that Purdue is big. Is that true?
Purdue is big, but do not be scared because while Purdue is big and there's 40,000 students here, when you find your people and you find your major, it really becomes small because you sit in the same classes with the same 20 people, or if you're an animal science major, the same 100 people because there's a lot of animal science majors. But there are some majors where you're going to sit in the classes with the same 15 people every day. And Caroline could probably attest to that more. So don't be scared. I know it seems overwhelming, and I know of people that have strayed away from Purdue because they got scared when they seen passing period happen. But everybody is here to make yourselves better. And so I just think it's something that if you look aside at that Purdue, you shouldn't be worried because there are people that support you and want the best for you every single day, whether it's a professor, it's a leader, it's a friend. We're all here to support each other.
I will say I had accepted my offer to Purdue before I had even toured the campus. And so I accepted my offer in like January, and in April I was touring campus. So I had already went like accepted, like I was going to Purdue whether I liked it or not. And during my tour, it was just me and my dad and my mom, and we're walking campus, and my dad, maybe it was my mom, one of them asked, "How do you feel about Purdue?" And I, with tears in my eyes, I was like, I think I made the wrong decision. Like, this is a huge campus, and it was very overwhelming. I went to a high school that I graduated with 200 people in my class, and animal sciences here at Purdue has 700 people enrolled. So knowing that, like, it was very overwhelming. But then I toured Creighton, which is the building that we're in, which is the animal science building, and I got to talk and meet with professors, and it made it like I felt so at home, and I felt like so much peace knowing that I was in the right spot. So you have to really take the size of Purdue as a grain of salt, because in all reality, you're going to spend your time in 4 buildings. Like, you bounce around the same 4 or 5 buildings all day long and all week. So you're not going to be going all the way from the engineering building to Creighton. And like, I just think that even though it is such a big campus, like you truly are like only in a few spots at once, and it makes it feel so much smaller.
What is your favorite quality about Purdue?
I think the opportunities, I think the reputation that Purdue has definitely gives me a lot of opportunities. I just think that the sky's the limit when you come to Purdue. And if you have an idea and you want to bring it up to, especially your academic advisor or someone, a professor that you might have, they are here to make you successful and they truly care about you and your success. And so I think that is something that I really love about Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue's a university that's like well known worldwide. And so even like when people just see that you furthered your education at Purdue, they're like, wow, like that's an accomplishment. And I could definitely contest to that. There are just so many opportunities and experiences that are offered at Purdue that other universities don't offer. And so really just taking those opportunities as they come and reaching out each and every day to better yourself and look at what opportunities you can take one day after the next is something I think that Purdue does a really good job at.
So I'm gonna say I'm gonna agree with both of these ladies. Purdue has the financial, but also the networking resources to put you in any job in the world, any country, any place, anywhere. If you want to go back to the family farm or if you want to go back to the county extension office, they can do that. If you want to go live on the other side of the world or at least visit it for a study abroad, they'll let you do that. Purdue has 4,000, I think, clubs. And so if you want to do a club or an organization, if you can't find it, you can join it. You can make it. I have friends that created a toy tractor club. And actually we partnered with them to do a 4-H judging event. So don't think that you can go here. You can go here and above. Purdue is limitless. They have alumni across the world. They have students across the world studying abroad and doing different things. So yeah, opportunities here at Purdue are absolutely limitless. If you want to do something, somebody can find a way for you to do it.
Does anybody know about 4-H Ignite or any other 4-H events that are going on or happening soon?
So I think is Ignite happening right now? Question mark. I know 4-H went live a couple minutes ago on my Instagram about something. There is also from a collegiate 4-H perspective, there is a collegiate 4-H conference. This year it is hosted in New Mexico. So they change around from year to year. So there is conferences and other things. I don't personally know about Ignite. I bet Clint could probably tell you a little bit more about that than what I can tell you.